The festive season has once again highlighted the grim reality of road safety in South Africa. The Eastern Cape alone has recorded over 200 road fatalities in December, more than double the figure from last year. With high traffic volumes expected as holidaymakers return home, the Road Traffic Management Corporation has announced targeted interventions to address the crisis. Joining us to discuss these measures is Simon Zwane, spokesperson for the RTMC. Simon, good to speak to you. You and I had a conversation shortly before Christmas, in fact, in the build-up to the holidays, and there are a number of interventions that you had carried out with a view to reducing the number of road fatalities. Obviously, this hasn't quite worked out as you'd envisioned.
It has worked out, Hugo, but there have been challenges in some areas. That is why now we are saying that we need to have targeted interventions in specific districts, because statistics are showing us that there are 10 districts out of the 52 districts in the country. There are 10 districts that are contributing the highest number of crashes and fatalities. So we want to zoom into those districts, working with the municipalities and the provincial authorities, just to massify the road safety messages in those districts, because we have identified particular trends in each of the districts. In the Eastern Cape,
yeah, I was going to say, can you focus on the Eastern Cape and walk us through what you think might be the challenges versus the interventions that you're likely to put in place?
Yeah. In the Eastern Cape, what we have identified is that there are public transport operators that travel from the Eastern Cape long distances, either to Gauteng and to the Western Cape. Now, before Christmas, they were traveling without passengers right up to Gauteng, pick up passengers here and drive back. And we've noticed them also coming into Gauteng in the evenings and drive back. By the time they get to the Eastern Cape, fatigue sets in. And that has been the cause of some of the major crashes that we have investigated in that province. So we want to go into the area to have an engagement with public transport operators, but we understand there are also immediate that could be concluding in this coming few days. So we want to also be able to spread a message through those immediate, but to ensure that when they leave, when the traffic starts picking up, leaving the Eastern Cape, we have had engagements with public transport operators, traditional leaders and other stakeholders to ensure that the message for road safety is understood, but so that also as they go into these long distance trips, provision is made, for example, to have maybe a spare driver in the vehicle, so that's not one driver travels all the way. So if they have a spare drivers, we can be able to reduce these numbers of fatalities and crashes. So Eastern Cape is going to.
Are you suggesting that the bulk of accidents have been a result of public transport, or have involved public transport?
Yeah, in the Eastern Cape, they've made a big contribution, but we still also are concerned about pedestrian fatalities that we have spoken about earlier. We have not seen a sufficient enough reduction in the number of pedestrian fatalities, so we want to also address that issue.
So there's a number here that's particularly concerning, certainly for me, and that's that the Eastern Cape has recorded 200 road fatalities in December. Now, that's more than double what they recorded last year. So you potentially have 100 deaths last year and you go up to 200. So how concerned are you about that? And what are some of those factors that's led to this sudden rise, if you will?
Yeah, we are very concerned about that. That is why we are planning to have these interventions to bolster the efforts that the province has been making. We have also deployed in that province members of the National Traffic Police, but we would now go and support that with road safety activations and messaging, so that we are able to speak to as many stakeholders and communities as possible and spread the message. But particularly Eastern Cape, the problem has been public transport vehicles that have caused many fatalities because of fatigue. But we've also noticed that on the roads that we have been monitoring, some of the motorists have been opting to take escape routes or secondary routes. And that is where also a number of crashes and fatalities have happened. So we want to go and also be able to work on correcting that, to ensure that even those people who are using secondary routes, we are able to monitor and get onto them.
I was listening to a report earlier on, Simon, and the one individual who spoke mentioned that there is the infinite possibility that one of the challenges is the quality of drivers that we have on our roads, right? So you go out and you do all this remarkable work to try and create awareness and so on, and prevent people from dying on the roads. But just that the quality or the attitude of the drivers is a huge contributory factor.
No, that is certainly true. That is why throughout the year we have these blitzes where we are arresting drivers who are getting their driving licenses fraudulently. I mean, to show that their attitude is really intransigent, you have to consider that in this period alone, our traffic officers have arrested 23 motorists who were driving without proper documentation. But as they were stopped, instead of showing remorse, no, they were offering bribes to the traffic officers. That is the kind of attitude that also leads to these things. People thinking that they can get away driving recklessly, driving without proper documentation because they can pay bribes. So 23 have been arrested. It's unprecedented that over this period you get so many drivers arrested for offering bribes to traffic officers. So indeed, the quality of the driver is also an issue at hand, but that's an issue that we must address as we go forward.
So, Simon, I want to circle back to the issue that you raised around the taxi drivers that are driving from the Eastern Cape overnight or through the day, coming out to Gauteng to pick up some travellers and driving back overnight. Is this a new event? Has this not happened before? Is it something that's only come on your door, so to speak, this particular holiday?
No, it has happened before, but not to this extent. In fact, in our engagement with Santaco has also said that no, these people have been driving not from the designated tax rank. So we might be dealing with a phenomenon of people who are pirating, seeing an opportunity to make a quick buck and traveling to the cities, picking up passengers and coming back. So that is why we're also engaging with Santaco so that we are able to deal with the issue from the taxi rank. As the taxis leave, they are accounted for, and they are accounted for when they come back.
Simon, how much has the weather been an issue in the many accidents that we've seen on our roads in the last few weeks?
The weather has also been a factor, but we have not seen many crashes that we can attribute to weather. By and large, it has been driver behavior, the alcohol use, speeding, and it has also been fatigue. And then we have had pedestrians who are also walking on the roads under the influence of alcohol. So those have been the big issues that we've identified.
Now, obviously, many of us are concerned with the numbers that we are seeing, but you have talked about interventions that you are expecting to carry out. I'd imagine that it's immediately over the next few days. Just walk us through these interventions and how you think they will shift the trajectory on these accidents, because as I said, we spoke a few weeks ago, and there were plans that you'd put in place to mitigate some of these challenges and hopefully reduce the number of accidents. But it hasn't happened, certainly not in the Eastern Cape, where those numbers have doubled. So what is it that we can look forward to seeing you doing, working obviously with other departments over the next few days?
Yeah, we will be working with to reduce pedestrian fatalities. We're taking lessons from Gauteng, for instance, where we have seen for the first time a reduction in the number of pedestrian fatalities that have taken place because of the interventions that have been put in place. So we need to replicate that even in other provinces. The public transport issue is one issue where we need to intervene to deal with fatigue. And then we must deal also with the issues of the easy availability of alcohol or shippings that are positioned along the major freeways. That has also been an issue that leads to pedestrian fatalities. And then we must then address the issues around driver behavior. So together with the taxi associations, the civil society organizations, we think that we can be able to bring the situation under control if we go together in a concerted kind of way into these districts and speak to the contributing factors to fatalities and crashes.
Simon, there has been some talk, and I stand to be guided by you. You obviously might be more knowledgeable around endorsement of drivers' licenses for those that carry out certain infringements, such as involved in accidents where they're responsible and people die and so on. At what stage is this? Is this something that is happening? Will it curtail, do you think, the levels of carnage that we're seeing on our roads?
It certainly will, particularly where we don't have to wait until people cause an accident. The people who are driving drunk, those licenses should be endorsed. If a person is a repeat offender, we believe that the license should be taken away. There are people who are driving at excessive speeds. Those licenses should be endorsed as well. And we have always advocated for a rescheduling of traffic offences so that we can deal with the repeat offenders and those people who are causing major crashes, so that we're not dealing with them only as minor offences. Our view has always been that we must reschedule those into Schedule 5 offences so that the consequences for doing that can be harsher and people would learn from that.
Now, the one thing that I'd like you to touch on before we end the conversation speaks to those individuals. I think you talked about as many as 25 individuals that were stopped by police for driving drunk and offered to pay their way out. Does it speak to a relationship between lawbreakers and the police force, that are police generally accepting bribes? Do you think that this is why people drive drunk, because they assume that they can pay their way out of these infringements?
Yeah, I suppose it speaks to the culture of bribery, lack of respect for law enforcement in the country generally. And it's also, they'll be brave enough to do that because probably they've done it before and they think they can get away with it. So that is why we need to clamp down on it, so that really they should see that you can't pay your way out of committing a traffic offence.
Simon Zwane is a spokesperson for the Road Traffic Management Corporation, and they certainly have their work cut out to this festive period